Welcome, fellow seekers of challenge and triumph, to the SufferSooner podcast. Join us on a journey where ordinary souls embark on extraordinary endeavors. From the relentless grind of gravel to the punishing gauntlet that is triathlon, we've tasted our fair share of suffering. So fellow endurance warriors, let's lace up our shoes, strap on our goggles, and dive headfirst into the challenge, knowing that with every step, stroke, and pedal forward, we grow stronger together. What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 48, The Endless Night of Winter. I was watching that intro, because it plays and we're just kind of sitting here. I'm watching the intro, and even though that, you see the red clay from open range, and that day was a horrible day. We thought it was going to tornado that day, and I would take that over what we got right now.
Because we were talking about it before we were doing the show. We were like, hey, maybe we can skip doing the podcast for today. We'll do it tomorrow. We'll go get our run in today.
Yeah.
And then you go outside, you look outside, it's like 36 and windy and cold, cloudy. It's miserable. It is absolutely disgusting outside. Yeah.
I went outside. I'm like, oh, I'll take the dogs for a walk.
Yeah.
And I just looked around. I was like, I ain't going anywhere. The dogs looked at me like, we're not going anywhere either.
Do you get this too? Like, these cold mornings, like I'm not really one to like lay around in bed. Like that's when you get kind of tired and whatever, but like on these cold mornings, a lot of people like to cozy up and just stay warm. I don't really care about that. I just don't want to go outside. And then it starts to impact. I'm like, oh, I got 6 miles I got to run today. I'm like, man, what else can I do to put that off? Cause I really don't want to get on the treadmill and run 6 more miles. Cause I just ran, the other day. What else can I find to do around the house? Like you just find all these reasons to procrastinate. And it's like, next thing you know, you're like I'm washing the walls, just trying to find something to do.
Yep. Something to do that. Yeah. And voids. But then even then, like you just like, if I just would start to go for a run outside, it's not bad out there. I mean, I've ran in worse. I've ran when it's like sleeting and, the water's freezing to your face and you got snot crystals coming from your nose. It's been worse. I've trained in worse. It's just that sometimes you don't have the motivation just to go out there. And so you're just like, screw this, dude.
Right?
Why? And it's not even like it's a bad day. It's almost like I need it to be either really crappy out, so then I can go and train in it and just be like, see how tough I am? I went and trained in this garbage. Or it needs to be like hot and nice and sunny, and I can be like, oh, it's such a nice day. I'm gonna go get my outdoor training in.
But even on like the hottest days of the summer, while you might be like, this is gonna suck to be out there and have to do a workout. Like you still go do it. You don't care. But when it gets cold outside, like nope, want nothing to do with it. And you're right. Like usually, especially running, you get the first mile down and you can just stay out there all day. It's not that big of a deal. In fact, it's actually a lot more comfortable to run in weather like this. I have some of my best runs when it's cold out, but just me getting out the door for that first like 10, 15 minutes till you're like kind of get to operating temperature. Mm-hmm. Yeah. First mile.
I fight myself so much on it. I'm just like, what the heck is going on, man?
You know what? It's bad. This is really bad for me. But like I start looking for like whatever else I can find to motivate me. I'm like, maybe that $5,000 treadmill from Wahoo is like the motivation I need to convince myself to run on days like this. Like that's number one. That's a horrible idea. Don't do that. Like, you know how hard it is not to just add to cart and hit buy. I mean, other than the fact that it would detrimentally impact, it's like not a smart financial decision right now. But man, it's like, I bet if I had that, I would be more motivated. Then I would be able to run on Zwift, and that would have elevation change. And like you just like playing these mind games on yourself, like anything.
And it's like it may work for 2 or 3, 4, 5, maybe exercises, but after a while, it turns into like every other treadmill. It just starts becoming a drying rack for all your cycling clothes.
Actually, I'm looking at it right now. So my treadmill, it's got a couple towels on it. All right, for sweat, which is fine. Right. It has like 2 pairs of shoes on it because I had to move the shoes off like where I was doing strength training yesterday. And it's got my bike rollers sitting on it because I got nowhere else to put my bike rollers. So I put them on the treadmill whenever, because I got limited space here that I'm working in. And so, it just becomes a place to collect junk. So, but no, it's okay. I mean, I'll get it all cleared off. We'll get the 6 miles in later, maybe. But but
Yeah.
maybe.
I find, I always hear the term, lack of motivation, lack of any of that stuff. I just, it's, one of those things where you just kind of like, look, man, like if you had motivation, it's super easy to do this stuff, right? Like you're super motivated, you're not having a problem like this. You just do it. It's when you have times like this where you're just like, yeah, I'll complain about getting on the treadmill, but eventually I'm going to get on there. Now, if it's right after we finish talking on this podcast or 2 hours later or 3 hours, it will get done today.
Get done. Yeah.
But you can't say what time it will be done. It just eventually it will get done. Either it'll be right before I go to bed and it was the last thing I had to do, or I'm running on New Year's Eve or whatever. Like it's just like I'm running right before the ball drops to get it in.
I will say I give a lot of credit. There's a lot of people out there, a lot of the so-called type A personalities. People get up at 4 o'clock in the morning every day to do their workout. Like they're just regimented and that's what they do. And I give them a lot of credit. That's just never been me. And I'm sure it's because I'm just lazy and whatever. I'm sure there's a lot of personal deficiencies for why that's not the case. And I'm sure I could change that behavior. But I give those people a lot of credit. Because if I don't do it first thing in the morning, then I find every reason not to. And I'm with you. It might be 7, 8 o'clock at night before I'm finishing up the workout. And then like that's not really the right way to do it either. But it gets done. Just it just makes it more painful and miserable than it needs to be. So
yeah, I've been that guy that's woken up and just got it done first thing in the morning too. I mean, it's again, it all takes that mental overhead, right? Like, a lot of things didn't get done after I did the morning workouts that are getting done now because I'm procrastinating the workout. Right. So like, like laundry with a 5-person household, like doesn't really get done if I do the workout first. I'll just be like, oh, I'm too tired to do laundry. I'm going to go lay down or, or like something like I get that workout in. I don't really care about laundry, but like if I'm like, oh, I have to run today, let me see if there's some laundry I can do real quick. That stuff. So like I kind of look at it as the ebb and flow of your training cycle type thing. Like if you are a person that like gets up, they do all their things, they do all their work stuff, their home life, all that stuff's regimented and just pictured out and just blah, 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 blah. They go, that's great. Awesome. Good for you, man.
There is this side of me. It's like all I hear when I hear us talking like this is enough with the excuses and whining, guys. Get your butts together and get your workout done, right? Like there's a part of me that's like, so eventually, like when we'll get to a point this winter, and I think it's probably because we're into a new year, and obviously, for me personally, like right now I got a lot of work stuff going on, so it's very hard to find the motivation because there's just swamped with work. But as things kind of settle down, like there will be a point in this winter where it will be in the like I will get up and the workout will get done earlier in the day and things will start coming around. Because why? Because that March is right around the corner, and all of a sudden, like once March is here, you're going to start to get more warm days than cold days. And next thing you know, like
and you don't want to be the guy struggling on the group ride.
That is true.
Like you want to be the one handing it to the people that slacked off in the winter. Right. So that becomes your motivation. Like being on the receiving end of that, I can't say that it's super bad to be on the receiving end of like not training through winter. But man, when you can dish that out to the people that haven't trained, you're just oh, this feels great. Yeah, it is. I mean, that's the motivation for sure. And like you're saying, like sometimes I think it just has to do with, the lack of sunlight and the holiday season and your kind of schedules being interrupted and stuff. But we'll come to a point where we'll just be like, well, enough pissing and moaning. It's time to get our butts in gear. And we just everything starts turning like a switch and you just start freaking hammering it. And that's happened more and more. So.
The other thing is we've got, just for us, we have the half marathon coming up. We're now what, 5 weeks out. Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, it's right here on us. And we went out and did the run on Saturday. Was it Saturday or Sunday, whatever day we did our run on. And that was a good reminder that I'm not quite where I need to be, and it's time to use these next 5 weeks, be very smart with it and get the workouts in, which is why that 6 miles is going to get done today. So,
Yep. So
anyway,
yeah. So if you're having lack of motivation, people, it's totally natural. Just relax. Don't freak out. Like it's going to come around.
Yeah.
So what we like to do is we always like to have something to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the February race, the half marathon. February in the Midwest is not great. It's not known for being the most stellar time of year. It's not the time that you come to visit. If you
it is not.
You're not coming to Kansas City for Valentine's Day. It's not like one of those, most romantic cities in
unless you really like it cold. I mean, it can
unless you guys like frozen sleet water on the roadways. That's pretty much our Februaries. But yeah, so we look forward to, doing something, in Arizona where it's nice and warm, and so we try to plan those things that kind of, at least in the back of our mind, like you were saying, is just like, if we don't do it, we know we're going to struggle.
Yeah.
We know it's going to be hard.
And we experienced that firsthand last year. I mean, this year we're only doing the half marathon. The last 2 years we've done the full marathon in Mesa, and it's, I will say, I mean, last year, how hard was it? We came off of Ironman training in the fall. We had great fitness. Everything was there. And then it kind of, it falls off faster than you want it to. I mean, it takes a while for that fitness to fall off, but it does fall off. And we were not consistent with our runs last year. I mean, we still had good results, but we paid the price for sure. And that's just not going to happen this year. And we decided to do the half because there's other goals for the bike. So we didn't want to have to, at least for me personally, didn't want to have to commit so much to the run. But you're right. It's like having that motivation for February and knowing that we're going to be in the beautiful sunshine and nice warm air, and
hopefully,
because last year it was freaking cold and rainy.
Last year it was switched. It was colder here. It was colder in Arizona than it was. Than it was here. It was actually nice here. It was like 60 degrees or something last February.
Yeah, I remember when we lined up. I'm like, feels like a run at home, like a training run. What the hell are we doing out here? It was miserable, but and then
we were the only ones that like dressed appropriately because we knew exactly what it was going to be like. All these
43 and rainy. Oh, it's just like here at home. All right.
Yeah, I know what to wear.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, having that early season event, and this is like what I would even call preseason for us. I mean, so in other words, if we weren't doing this running race event, then at least I would be heavy on the bike training. I'd be still in the middle of a base block or be doing something, maybe just getting ready to start the build and doing a lot of bike. But it would be miserable because it'd be inside on the trainer and it'd just be, so this is a really good way to just break it up. Good cross training.
It's not like we don't ride the bike either. Like I've been riding, me and you, we rode, 2 hours outside and stuff like that. So, but the thing is like we're splitting our time between running and cycling. So you're not just, if you're a cycle only person, like now you're putting in like, a couple, 150, maybe 180 mile weeks, 120 mile weeks on the trainer inside. Right. Whereas you could just, let's say on the trainer, you ride like near 20 miles an hour or whatever. Every hour is like 20 miles.
Yep.
So you can split that with your run, and you run, if you run 10 hours a week or whatever, that's, or 6 hours a week, that's what, 60, no.
You're doing runner's math.
I'm doing runner's math. It's horrible. Yeah. No, but that's time that you don't have to spend riding the bike because you're getting the same basic cardiovascular fitness. You're probably getting better fitness because you're actually running, which is a load bearing sport instead of the cycling. So,
well, I think
don't follow my runner's math because I haven't had enough coffee.
It's today. I got 1/4 of 1/2 of 1/8 of a mile left and we're good. But, but no, I think you're 100% right. I mean, one of the things, and I'd say this kind of goes to that, something to look forward to. What kind of got me started on the whole, let's do a preseason running event is I felt like having running as something to do in the off season or in the down season, the winter time, it was something to look forward to because I don't do a lot of running in the summer. It's almost all bike unless we're doing a triathlon. And so it was something to look forward to. It was a different type of training stimulus. So running on the treadmill those first few years of winter training really wasn't that bad. Now it's kind of getting kind of boring, but it wasn't that bad because I wasn't on the bike. It was nice to get a break away from the bike, and it was extremely beneficial to my bike. Coming back into the spring, I found that having the run supplementing the bike made me a stronger cyclist. Now I'm kind of seeing it the other way around. It's like using the bike to supplement the run to your to kind of I think where you were going is now I can use the bike to supplement the run and I can do, maybe a few shorter number of miles of running, but I can supplement with some bike time. And now I get sort of the best of both worlds. And
Yep.
let's face it, I'm not going down to Mesa looking to podium like this. So this is not good advice if you're trying to podium your half marathon. Like you
Yeah,
probably
but
should be
that
focused
goes
on.
back to motivation. Like if I was committed to
Mhm.
trying to do my best at this race, getting outside and getting the work
Yeah,
done,
hard.
I mean,
Mhm.
it could be a tornado out there. I'd still be out
To be out
there.
there
If
doing it.
yeah,
Mhm.
doing it. Like it's like,
That's
well,
right.
if the big man upstairs have other plans for me than podium and like making the
Yeah.
podium on this race, then
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
that's what we're gonna have to talk about when I get
Right.
up there. But
Yeah. But yeah,
yeah,
I'm with you. Like that's not because that's not the motive. I mean, the motivation is this is a good cross training opportunity, and quite frankly, it's just a lot of fun to be in Arizona in February. So
yeah.
good excuse. So
So, yeah, definitely have that thing to look forward to. Something just kind of get you to just somewhat stay honest.
yeah,
I think that's the biggest thing to go through, like especially the hard times of the winter and
yeah,
stuff like that. The next thing is I see a lot of people. What helps too is hiring a coach.
yeah, yeah,
So this is a really good thing. I always see a bump in my numbers, especially in the beginning of the year, um, just because people want some accountability.
yeah.
They know it's hard, so you have somebody who's looking at it or texting you or calling you or going, "Hey, there's a workout in your training peaks, and it still needs to get done. You
Yeah.
said you were going to do it." So
You have a lot of
it's
red in last week's plan. Yeah,
I
yeah.
actually I had a lot less red than I did the month before because
Right.
I was
Yeah.
been sick. So
Right.
basically, it was like I'd get to Sunday of being sick, and I'd be like, oh, maybe next week I can do something, and I would put stuff in, and then I would get to Monday or Tuesday and be like, I can't do anything,
Can't do
and I
anything.
would
Yeah, that's right.
just all be red, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah. I
so
think I think too though, I mean, aside from the fact that there is the accountability side when you have a coach, you've got somebody that and you can do that with a coach, a friend, whatever. But I mean, I think the other thing that having a coach will do for you is um we talked about that. We were talking about this on the run. There's some folks that they're like, well, why would I hire a coach? Like I can go get plans wherever. I mean, I can go
yeah,
out to Chat GPT right now and create a training plan and
yep,
it does it in 30 seconds. And I've looked at it. It's not a bad plan. I mean, it's something that would work for somebody and it's fine depending on what your goals are. But so why would you hire a coach? Well, but you're hiring the coach because the coach has number one has some experience in doing things, whether the exact event you're wanting to do or something like it. So it's a great opportunity to get that voice of experience and to bounce some ideas off of like, hey,
hmm
like when I am struggling to get like, hey, I'm really struggling to get my running in. I'm whether it's I'm too busy or I find whatever excuses. So what are some things I can do? Guess what? Because you as a coach and other folks that we know as coaches, they've all been through that. Like we're talking about it right now. We've been through multiple years of suffering through the dark days of winter
and
and
yeah, we
trying to
may
get
have some tips that
yeah.
that they can latch onto, and that just gets them out the door, and they get
And
through
the other
four or
thing
five workouts, and boom, they're back on track.
Well, the other thing I bet you've done this too with athletes is, hey, you know what? You don't really like for me, I don't really feel like going and running my 6 mile base run today. It's kind of feels like a boring run. Is there something else I can do? You as a coach might be able to look and say, well, what kind of like do you feel like doing any kind of run? Maybe you feel like doing some intervals today. Yeah, so let's figure out how we can adjust your training plan and see
Hmm.
if we can work that in to find a workout type that motivates you more because I know for me, like a long, slow run on a day I don't feel like running or cycling isn't it, that's part of the reason I'm not motivated. So if I could do a 30-minute hit workout instead and get
Yep.
still get training benefit out of that, then let's have that conversation with your coach, and let's make sure that that's something you can support and still avoid, the overtraining, the injury, and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's why, having the coach there to help bounce some of those ideas off of, it can help get you out of those ruts and find, something that works, and keeps you motivated day to day. So
Yeah. And usually if the coach is, tapped into the local area too, that you're being coached from, they may know of some other athlete that's training for the same event or is having the same, you guys are kind of like on the same level as far as your fitness wise and your paces and stuff. And, or maybe they're just like, hey, this guy, that I know, he runs every Sunday at, he rides this section of, the road every Saturday at, at noon. So like he would love the company, and you just start, getting people together and they start, doing stuff. So,
well,
and that could be a big help too. That's another thing too. Like I always tell you, if you tell me like we're going to go run, I just say yes, because the running is, I know myself enough to know that I am not disciplined in the run. Right. I will not go and do it. I'll go and swim. I'll go and lift weights. I will go and ride my bike. I have no problem doing any of those, anytime during the week. Now they'll get done later in the day or something like that. I'll put them off, but the run is probably by far the hardest thing. So anytime Danny says, hey, I have an hour to go and do something, I'm like, sure. I'll be right there.
Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, if I can, that's all I was going to say. Yeah. But most of the time I'm there, man. I'm ready.
Right.
I'm ready to go because I just hate doing it by myself.
Yeah. And I think that's, I know we didn't put that in the list here, but I think that's something a coach can help you with. I mean, you bring up a really good point. There's a high likelihood that coach either knows of group runs that are happening or group workouts that are happening. Or like you said, knows somebody and can help connect some dots there and find some motivational partners there. One of the things I think we were talking about is there are a plethora of online training programs now, and there seem to be a lot of companies that are really trying to push the notion of these group workouts. And we've had that conversation. Like, if that's something that would help motivate you, I mean, there are certainly opportunities out there to do group workouts in a virtual setting, which I have yet to figure out like how that would motivate me personally, but some people need that. And, probably the most preeminent example of that is something like a Peloton, where you got, you got a coach on there, it's leading the ride or the run, and they got music and telling stories and whatever. And that's some people are really into that. Other people just knowing that somebody else is suffering with you is enough, and that's why Zwift is so popular for bike, for cycling, because just seeing the other people out there, they're suffering, or they're doing I see those guys on Zwift that are doing 70, 80, 90 miles in a session. And I'm just like, more power to you. I don't know how you're doing it, but congratulations. That's a lot, and knowing they're also there indoors doing it with you. But yeah, I think the coach side of it is super important this time of year, especially. I mean,
yeah, and this is a good time too. Like if you don't have a early season event or anything like that, this is a great time to hire a coach and just be like, hey man, my running form is, I know it's not great. Is there some stuff I can do to work on it? So like, like I did, I went and saw, Sharon from Endurance Running PT PT. And then she gave me some stuff to work on. I'm working on it. My running is getting better. My form's looking a lot better. It feels a lot better. I'm just not, again, I think, the runner's high is elusive and it's made up. That's a whole,
I hear it's at the end of a run on a Wahoo Kicker run.
Yeah, exactly. That's the next thing. But yeah, like everything's coming along, and now is the time, especially if you're especially in the Midwest or whatever, like in a situation like us, like this is the time to work on your weaknesses. Like go to the gym, and you can get a lot done with some strength work. You can if you get your strength work going, you can come out from a good solid strength build in the winter
Mhm.
and ride the bike and be stronger without putting massive
Right.
volume on the bike. Like
Right.
you don't need to do crazy volume here in the winter to
Yeah.
get faster in the spring. You can actually do, less volume than you ever have and hit the
Yeah.
gym. And that saves time too. So
Yeah. I think you're right. And you mentioned working on some of the weaknesses, and when we were doing our training run over the weekend, I even told you I was like I could tell just because you pulled up ahead of me on one of the intervals, and I could tell just your feet, you're not dragging your left foot as much as you sort of kicking it out and kind of letting it just sort of um, go along for the ride. Like it has more purpose now, and
yep.
just little things like that, because I've run with you so long and so often, like, I kinda know how you run. I could tell immediately, like, that's the first time I think we ran together, since before you were sick, and, like, where I've actually been able to see a difference, and I could tell, like, all the PT work is starting to do something. So, that wouldn't have happened if you didn't go see Sharon,
Yep.
and so, that's like you said, it's a perfect time to go do those things, and even if you don't do those long, crazy, week-long workouts, I mean, if you focus on PT and your muscular side, I mean, that can be huge, 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 huge benefits. So,
Yep.
and then in that
Yeah.
vein, you got another one on here too, right, for blood work?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a great time to get blood work done too.
Mhm.
So, like, if you're somebody who suffers from vitamin D deficiency, like I do, like, this is a good time to get, some blood work done because you're basically at, you're, because when you train and you train hard, like if you're training for an Ironman, your blood levels, all the, the iron in your blood, the cholesterol, all that stuff can get really wonky. But
Yeah.
having a baseline now, since you're already, let's say you've been like us, you've kind of been lightly motivated, you haven't really been training that hard, it's been kind of light training, but you've also been sick and you've indulged in your Christmas and New Year's dinners, and Thanksgiving was, extra
Yeah.
pies. So like this is the perfect time to go get some blood work done
Yeah.
because you're going to be basically at a really good kind of baseline that you can, see where your levels at, where your iron's at, where your vitamin D level, your B12, all that stuff. If you're not feeling motivated, you may have a vitamin D and a B12 deficiency.
Yeah.
That could just be, just from what you're eating and stuff like that.
Right.
So, that's
Yeah.
it's just a good thing to check. And then when you're in the height of your training, that's also another good time to check to
Mhm.
see how those 2 points differ. Like, how does training affect you? And then you can see like, oh, my iron kind of goes down when I'm, doing these really hard weeks. So
Mhm.
maybe I should like eat some more like iron rich food, like, make sure that's some kind of priority in my brain to,
Yeah.
in my meal plan and stuff to kind of combat that kind of thing. And you'll probably have better training. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think I mean, because it's easy to let this stuff kinda slip and, and next thing you know, you're in the thick of a build block and you're not sure why you just don't feel right, and, well, it's because you've had a vitamin deficiency for the last 8 weeks and you've done nothing about it,
yep.
and I don't think people, give that enough credit. I mean, I know for me, I was dealing with some issues in the late season last year with, um, all kinds of things going on, like, I know you and I talked about, like, my resting heart rate would just suddenly just dip like crazy, like, for,
Hmm.
a week at a time, and then it would kinda recover a little bit, and then there were days where I get, like, really dizzy and, like, I was, "Gosh, what is going on?" Like,
Yeah,
like,
I
"What's
was
what's
thinking you were
happening?"
having some kind of vertigo or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, what I think it turned out to be, because I did not go get blood work done, I just tried to manage it myself, but I also pay a lot of attention to, I mean, try to pay a lot of attention to, number 1, what am I eating, but also am I well hydrated, am I dehydrated, that sort of thing. Electrolytes, I'm real big on make sure I keep those going. Um, and I started finding things like I was dehydrated. Why? Because like at one point I did like a week worth of travel for work and I was on a plane a lot and that's not normal. Like normally I'm at home working, remotely from home, and so little things like that, like, just because I was trying to be very in tune with sort of where everything was, I had electrolyte imbalance. Because how do I know that? Because as I started focusing more on electrolytes, everything kind of came back together. and not just any, like, it was specifically potassium was a problem, which is not normal. Usually sodium
No.
is what you end up with
Yeah.
a problem with. So, and how did I find that out? Because I was eating bananas one day because I was like, I gotta freaking, so bananas have a little bit of potassium in them, and guess what? I started feeling better, and it's like, so just really right now getting in tune with those things is super important because again, you get into your build block, and if you're like us, you're going to be building here pretty soon for early spring races, and it's going to be good to know where your baselines are at. So you actually reminded me because I actually had blood work on my list of things I need to get done before we get too far into February. So
Yeah,
I'm good with
I'm
that.
getting blood work before I
Yeah.
go. So I made the mistake of getting blood work after I got back from Phoenix last time.
Yeah.
And like and if for any of you that are listening to this, like my best friend lives out there, my childhood friend. So I go out there, and it's not like I'm eating salads and I'm having I'm eating the worst possible. Like he's like, hey, check this place out. This is
Yeah.
like the best ribs you're gonna have. And I'm like, okay, whatever. He's like, and then I'm like, you got to try this pizza, and we got to like
Yeah.
go here, and
Yeah.
so I'm not,
You ate
I'm
like
not.
a garbage truck for a week.
Yeah, I basically I was on the seafood diet. I just saw anything and just put it in my mouth and ate it. And so I come back, and my doctor's like, your cholesterol's a little high. And I'm like, don't believe
Yeah,
too
it's
much into that.
yeah.
I mean, I think I had an In-N-Out double. I
Yeah, we
had
had
two
2.
double doubles. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we had. Yeah, because you saw me too, because that's what we had for lunch when I took you to the airport or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
And and then my flight left the next day. So yeah,
yeah,
of course my cholesterol is going to be high. I don't eat In-N-Out every day.
right?
It's
Like,
just
that's a
it's like
delicacy,
one,
yeah,
yeah, it's a once a year thing. So yeah, I
yeah,
told my doctor, I was like, oh, don't read too much into that. I'll come back and get blood work in a little
yeah.
while, and we'll get it figured
So
out.
so not something we really talked about, but what about, things like because now I know a lot of places are real big on, like, body scans and things like that, and, like,
Hmm.
you can go sign up, like, you can get, like, the Dex I think it's a DEXA scan is what's
Yep.
called, and they're anywhere from couple $100, I think, but you get the full body scan, you can get your blood work done, like, all this kinda stuff, and, I mean, there are no shortage of ways to spend money on these things, by the way, just so you know. Like, I've done the
Yep.
research. There are a lot of people willing to take your money to do whatever scans and tests and anything else you want, and it has nothing to do with your health insurance. You just go, pay these labs to go do it. And I've actually kind of looked at, I'm like, I wonder if there'd be benefit in like doing one of those DEXA scan things, having that as a baseline like right now, and then coming back and maybe doing it again, say, July or August when the season's kind of peaked and we're, going to be kind of getting ready for the fall season.
Well,
Just
it's
see
good
like
to
a body
know
scan.
how
Yeah.
it would be good to know your propensity to cannibalize your muscle tissue.
Yeah.
And then, you can see your difference between your fat mass versus your
Mhm.
muscle mass.
Yep.
And, because you're going to lose weight anyways, because,
Yeah.
the volume of training that is required for this stuff, you cannot
Yeah.
possibly physically eat enough.
Right.
And so, it would just be nice to see. And then you could make, stuff like that. You can make changes to your diet and just be like,
Right.
okay, I'm going to focus more on, less fatty foods, more high protein,
Mhm.
high, like, and just because the fat tends to satiate you and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So like maybe you go to lean meat, so you get more protein
Yeah.
during the day, so you can actually ingest the right amount of protein so you don't cannibalize stuff. But yeah,
Right.
getting a DEXA scan or getting any kind of blood work right now, especially in the wintertime before
Mhm.
you're, ready to go start training,
Yeah.
it's really valuable for sure.
Some of the other things, and I know we're kind of straying off topics a little bit here, but just as ways to kind of, um, I don't want to say test. I mean, I guess kind of test trial and error like workouts, but most of the time these winter workouts are not. I mean, you do have like I still have my high intensity days, but I tend to notice like if I want to go into some of these workouts, maybe a little light on carbs,
Mhm.
or try different strategies for like, hey, how do I feel if I really carb up for a hit workout versus, I don't, and like how do I feel afterwards? And most of these workouts are not, multi-hour, so you're not really at risk of bonking or anything like that. It's just more about your own personal performance. So for me, it's like you can find some of that motivation. You can find some of the intent behind the workouts by just trial and error and
Mm-hmm.
seeing what works and what doesn't work. How do you feel when you feel a certain way before workouts versus not? And this is the time to really try that stuff, because what's the penalty? You might have a bad workout in January. I mean, that's not the end of the world, and as
Mm-hmm.
long as you do the workout, you're still getting your work in. So I think, it kind of ties into the blood work, because I think when you get those scans, you do all those things, like even now, like you can get like your BMR, your basal metabolic rate and all that kind of stuff, and know like, hey, where's the point where I'm burning more fat versus carbs and that sort of thing, and go give it a shot. Use your workouts to try it and see if it holds water or not, and see if it actually works for you. So there's just a lot of things you can be doing to sort of augment how you approach your workouts, versus when you get into the regular season, if you will, and in the warmer months, when it's like, oh, I got to go do my, you know, 5-minute VO2 max repeats because that's what the workout calls for, and I just got to go get it done, that kind
Mm-hmm.
of stuff. And so I just think that there's a lot of ways that you can approach this time of year to help not just with the motivation side, but also just learn more about your body, because the penalty is non-existent basically right now. Like there's no
Yeah.
penalty for hey, I tried it, didn't work. All right, no big deal. So yeah,
Yeah, and then the other
good
part
stuff.
too, like I'm going to go back to the hiring a coach part, but you don't even have to hire a coach. You could just look this stuff up on yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of times, like you were saying, is like this time of year we're doing like easy base miles, right? So sitting on the
Mhm.
trainer for like 3 hours on a Saturday or Sunday is not out of the norm, right? Well, if you
Right.
don't want to do that and you're like, you know what, I want to do something else, you can do what's called like reverse periodization, where you
Mhm.
basically spend 45 minutes to an hour as your longest workout, but they're very high intensity. And
Mhm.
then when it starts to get warmer, that's when you start adding in the volume. So
Yeah.
you do the hard VO2 max stuff, the threshold,
Mhm.
the sweet spot.
Mhm.
You do all that stuff up front. And you
Yeah.
hardly do any volume work, and you do that for 4 or 6 weeks. And
Mhm.
then when it starts to warm up, guess what, you're doing your 3 hour ride outside
Yeah.
easy when it's
Right.
springtime.
Right.
So there's many ways, especially if you're telling, like if you have a coach or whatever, you tell your coach,
Mhm.
man, I really don't want to do long workouts. There's
Right.
options. It's
There
fine.
are.
You don't have to do
Yeah.
the long workouts. You can do short stuff. We
Yeah.
can work on just short, straight, raw power. I really try not to, like when I have my athletes, especially if they're indoor training athletes, that don't really have the means or the will to just
Mhm.
train outside as far as cycling and stuff like that. I
Mhm.
just give them, like, most of the time their workouts during the week or in the weekend,
Right.
they max out at like 90 minutes. There's no reason, unless they have a April full Ironman, they should not be riding any
Right.
more than
Right.
90 minutes as a
Right.
triathlete, you know?
Yeah. I think that's
So,
a really good point. So that kind of goes into, maybe another future episode at some point, is there are so many theories on off season. I keep saying off season, but for the context of what we're talking about here, it's not racing season, so it's off
yep.
season. There's so many different theories on how to approach that, like long, slow miles, base miles, slow in January, fast in June, that kind of stuff. And
The
I'm
old, the old keep it in the small ring
yeah, yeah,
from November to
yeah.
February, and then it's the big ring only
Right,
from
right.
February to, October.
And I
Yeah.
believe there are people that are very smart that have done a lot of studies, and there's a lot of evidence that suggests that there's merit behind the things that are said there. I also believe there's a lot of things that we don't know about athletic performance, and I think there's value in testing and trial and error and seeing what works. And we've talked about this as we were getting ready for the off season here, and we're looking ahead to next year. Like, there's a lot of gaps we see in the training plans we've used in the past. Not because they didn't work. They worked because we had some very good results with them. But now we're at a point where it's like, hey, let's look at some opportunity to mix in a little bit more of that higher intensity work in the off season, because where else do you work on muscle recruitment and
Yep.
being able to put down big power? I could show me on your work on your plan over the last 6 months in the warm months where you worked on big power output. and
Yep.
and you didn't, because why? Because usually we're training for a triathlon
An
type
event.
event or a
Yep.
big event, so you're focused on the volume side and you're very limited on the intensity. So I think that's why, again, coming back to what you just said, like having a coach or having a viewpoint on, well, hey, how do I want to adjust my training approach? Is there value in this? Do the research. Or if you don't want to do the research, hire a coach and pose these questions. Anybody that pretends to tell you that they have all the answers is probably full of it. Like they should be willing to listen to what you're saying and say, hey, you know what? Here's why I think that might work for you or might not work for you. It's not that it works or doesn't work in general. It's just for you and where you're at and what your goals are. Because like we've been doing this similar training for the last couple of years and good results, but I think there's better results to be had. We're going to find out.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that's why I try to these winter months, I think it's going to be it's especially when we get more focused on cycling. It's going to be interesting because the workouts are not going to be a lot of big 3, 4, 5 hour indoor workouts like those.
No, it's going to be some hard stuff, and
Yeah.
then sure on the weekends there'll be long,
Sure, you always
easy
have
rides,
base miles. Mhm.
but it's like, I mean, you have to again, if you're going to train for a 12-hour race, you better be riding the bike on the weekend for at least 12 hours, split over 2 days or whatever.
That's right.
So I mean, there's again with training, you have to do certain things to get the response. You can't just skip over like, oh, I'm just going to cut out all volume and then I'm going to hope I'm going to be able to race good for 17 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, no.
I just think it's wild because I always try to caution folks because, and we're pretty open about this because I know, Travis, with the way you approach coaching with your athletes, like it's not a high pressure situation and you certainly don't approach people with like, hey, I've got all the answers and you have to follow this regimen. No, it's nothing like that. And I caution people like, if your coach is like very regimented in a way, hey, if they think they've got a path to get you to championship level, by all means, if you believe them and trust them, go for it. But most of the time,
my thing is, if your coach never says, I don't know,
right,
then you should question it. There's
a
lot of stuff where my athletes will ask me and I'll be like, I don't know, but I'm gonna go look into it, and I usually look into it. And, there's a lot of stuff that people ask me that I have canned responses to that kind of stuff. But if I don't know it, or I'm like, you know what, like maybe I work, as a coach, I work with my athletes. I'm not the dictator in the relationship. I'm the one that's invested in your outcome.
And that's exactly
kind of what I am.
Exactly what I was getting at is at the level that we're talking about. We're not talking about, D1 college athlete that might have a chance to go pro right now. That's not the person that we're talking to here. If you're the, late 20s, early 30s athlete, or even older than that, all the way up to master's level. If you're in that range, you're like, hey, I just want to get better and I want to see continuous improvement. And now I want to try to build a track record. Like maybe I've never done structured training and I want to get into that type of approach. I think it's really important to understand that your coach should tailor the plan to you. That's the purpose of hiring a coach at this. Otherwise you would just go find the D1 college coach and try to hire them, which it wouldn't take you as an athlete, but that's what you'd be going after. That's find the plan that works for you and find the coach that will tailor the plan so it works for you and for your goals. And I think that's, again, gets back to why in the wintertime it's so important, because now you understand the why behind it. You understand the purpose behind each of the workouts. You're not just doing the workout because it's on a piece of paper. You're doing it because it serves a purpose and sets you up for later on. And I think that's the kind of stuff that you can always come back to keep your motivation up, and it makes it a lot easier to check the box on those hard days. So
yeah, who doesn't want to get better at the sport, right?
Yeah,
like you don't get better when you're pressed for time to train just for the event. Like you get better when you're like, okay, I'm going to spend the next 3 weeks just working on my cadence range. I'm going to go from 50 RPMs all the way to as fast as I can spin those pedals. I'm going to work everywhere in between. Like, could you imagine if you did some cadence work twice a week? I mean, I've been pedaling the bike since I've, like competitively since I was 13. So it's like, I mean, I do that still. I put in cadence work in the springtime. That's, I mean, it makes you better. Like it just does.
The thing I like is just even in the middle of a base ride inside now, I'll still do like the muscle tension interval type works where you're just slow cadence and just feel the tension across all 360 degrees of the pedal. because like to me that helps remind me to pedal in circles, not squares, and like to feel the full range, because that the more you can do that at a slow cadence, the more
Well, you're
efficient you
mapping
are.
that part of your brain.
Yes,
And
exactly.
you're
You feel the
actually
muscles, you're
focusing on that part.
activating.
You're
Yes.
that you're mapping it and you're activating it, and
Yeah.
just think, if you're not pressed because you have another swim or a run or something
Right.
like that, and you have the time to dedicate to like to just unlocking that potential in your mind, like that's what the winner's for. Like,
And the same goes for running. How many times we talked about in the running side, like trying to, like, I know you personally, we were talking about like how do you increase your step rate, your cadence, your turnover rate, and we've been outside running on the nicer days, and I mean,
me and
I don't
you
know about
both,
yours.
since we started working on it, we're
I'm in the
getting up
190s
there.
now. I've
Yeah.
never ran in the 190s before this year, and now all of a sudden, like I am consistent. When we did the threshold, the 3 miles of threshold the other day, I saw the cadence map. It started out, and like, you know, Garmin does the little color coding, which is kind of nice. It went blue for the first like half to 3/4 of a mile. Then it went into the purple range, which is like in the mid 190s for the
Yeah.
rest of the time. And I was like, I didn't even realize my feet were turning over that fast. And I was in a pair, just doing it, you know.
You just stop
So,
thinking about it and you just actually do it, and you're just like,
yeah.
holy cow, man, this is
I mean,
awesome.
it didn't make it hurt any less. It still hurt a lot. It hurt a lot. Oh my gosh.
But that's the thing too, is like, I'm like, oh, any athlete that thinks that they don't have anything to work on.
Yeah.
Come on.
To work on,
like,
for sure.
I mean, I hear pros. I mean, you look at Lionel Sanders. I mean, he's going to work on swimming.
Yeah.
Sam Long, he's got to work. I mean, these are triathletes. You look at, Vanderpool and those guys, they're doing cyclocross. Right. You don't do cyclocross because, you know, you're really good at, you know, stage races. No, it makes you a better bike handler. It makes you better at handling your on slippy surfaces, like getting that pedal stroke, the recruitment, the balance, the handling, the technical know-how, the getting on, the getting off, the doing all that kind of stuff. Like you get better doing that kind of stuff. So
that's what I mean. I think there's just so much to look for in the workouts. Like it's, you know, we kind of started this off with like lack of motivation, but now as we just kind of keep talking more and more through it, it's like, it's really not, again, it's just getting that first step of the run and getting the shoes clipped in on the bike. And once you do that, there's plenty of things to work on and plenty of things to make time more valuable. And then next thing you know, it's like, you know what, that workout was actually pretty awesome. And how many people do we know? It's like, I just saw a friend of ours post the other day, like, I really don't even want to swim today, but I went swam, and I found out it was the one thing I needed to make this day better. Like, yep, that's exactly right. And sometimes that's what you got to do. So buckle the shoe, clip it in, get the tennis shoe on, get it running, you know, take that first step, and then get your workout done, and you're going to feel a lot better for it. So
always do the future Travis. It's
well,
like, would you be okay? Would future Travis be okay with you skipping this workout? Right. And if the answer is no, then
you're moving right into the rapid fire now.
Yeah.
Because that's I like to do this. So ChatGPT has been a really fun tool. If you've been watching a few episodes, last week was kind of rough. ChatGPT,
it didn't really understand the new year. I don't think it understands it
at all. Yeah, but now we're back. ChatGPT is back, so it's got some mantras here, we'll call it, that I want you to react to.
Okay, I haven't heard these. This will be good.
Some of these might be kind of rough, but one of them you already said it was. What's your reaction to your future self is watching?
Yeah. That's I think the one that always gives me motivation.
Yeah.
I think about how I feel. I've crossed finish lines not putting in good training. and I know how that feels.
Like
and so like and you look back, and I know you can't, like, you know, I always ask my athletes too at the end, you know, which workouts do they feel were the most beneficial to their race, and which ones do they think they can just cut. You know, I always like to, because there's for different athletes, some of them will be like, I mean, I always think about, you know, there was one run one year that we were outside, and it was like 110 degrees already, and it was an 8-mile run, and it was the hottest run I've ever done in my entire life. I dumped so much water on me. I was soaked to the bone, but still I was so hot. And so, like, you know, you get to these places where you just remember these like these workouts that you've suffered through. And like, how many times do we talk about like open range and how windy it was that one year? Like,
Yeah.
no headwind has ever been worse than that headwind.
Never
And
will be.
so like, yeah. And so you get to training and you suffer through this stuff, and your future self is going to be a lot happier that you did it than
Yeah.
skip it. Because when you cross the finish line and you don't do the work that's necessary and it hurts and it's
Yeah.
really bad, your future self is really kind of upset. I've been
Yeah.
there.
I think this, I mean, that's exactly, I think this little phrase has grown a lot over the last few years, the whole, your future self thing. And but it's so true. And it kind of goes with the next one that's on the list here. Pain is temporary, regret is forever.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I agree
that's
with that.
fair. I
I
mean, unless the pain is tearing your bicep or
Well,
something, and then
yeah,
you're
it's a
like,
whole different thing. Yeah.
yeah,
I
like,
don't think we're talking about injury here. But yeah, I think that, but I think where I go with that one is the worst feeling is like, hey, I bailed on a workout because I just didn't feel like doing it. And then you kind of regret it when the decision is made and it's too late in the day to actually do the workout because you're getting ready to go to bed or whatever. I'm like, I should have just done the workout. Like, what the heck? And then like for me, like then I start feeling like a piece of crap. Because then the next day I'm like, I got to get my workout in. But guess what? You can't go back and make up the one you missed yesterday. There's no like, oh, I'll just tack it on today. It doesn't really work that way. And if you say, well, I'll just double up on the workouts, well, now you just escalated the fatigue on your body and now you've sacrificed the next workout. So
the only way that works is you have to swap your rest day.
yeah,
And so
pretty
like
much.
if you're a person that rests on Monday and your week starts on Monday,
Mm,
guess what? Like,
no,
if
you're
you didn't
done.
want to work out Tuesday, that's tough cookies, buddy. It's you already used your workout, your rest day. So guess what? Get on the treadmill and stop crying.
God.
Like it's just that's that's how it works. Now, if you're feeling good on Monday and you're like, ooh, I know I won't, and we've done this before, is like, and I've done this before too, is like I'll come off the weekend still on like,
Mhm.
like just feeling really good for whatever reason. I'll shift my Tuesday workouts to Monday
Yeah.
and just kind of like pull, like
Pull
kind of
pull 'em forward.
pull
Yep,
them forward a little bit,
yep,
because I know probably later in the week I'll be coming down off of
yeah,
whatever,
yeah, yeah.
sugar fueled high that I'm on because I ate like half a bag of Skittles or something. And
So
like,
yeah. So you know what I've been doing, and especially in this running block that we're in, because you're right, Monday is like my day. I take Mondays off. Rarely I will pull like what you just said. I'll do what you just said. But I also have like Thursday is usually my lighter volume day for runs. So it's usually like a 3 to 5 mile. And it's just it can be anywhere from 3 to 5. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll say, okay, on Tuesday, like today I got a 6 mile run. Well, it doesn't work this week because I also have a 6 mile run on Thursday. But on a normal week, I could say, well, I don't really feel like six today. I'll do the three today. So I can still get because we were talking the other day. I was like, I think running is the more I run, the more I think of it. It's a lot like swimming. When I
mhm.
take a day off, the physical side, I'm thankful I took the day off, but like the technical side of running and like the feel of turnover and like these are the things I've started to pay attention to, like the feel of the turnover, the activation of the core when you run, the hip flexors and the glutes working to generate that power. Like a lot of that stuff I didn't think about before, but now I'm starting to think about. I'm like, I kind of lose that feel if I skip a day of running. Like if a Monday rest day is one thing, but when you skip the Tuesday, and then you got Wednesday, you got intervals where you
Yeah,
need
when
that
you
high
go into
toe.
the intervals, you're like all
Yeah,
cold and you're
yeah,
like, I don't
exactly.
I don't know how fast I should be running. Like,
Right? Like you spend the whole warm up fighting yourself.
yeah.
And it's not really much of a warm up. It feels like you just did the workout and you're barely through the warm up. So what I've been doing is if I don't feel great on Tuesday, I'll just make that the 3 mile day
Yep.
instead, 3 to 5, and I'll just do three. And then on Wednesday, I'll do my interval. And then Thursday, I'll make that my 6 mile day, which would have been Tuesday. And if I feel great, maybe I tack a seventh mile on for the heck of it
Mhm.
because I can, because I'm well within my prescribed limits, because Friday is usually a cross training day anyway. It's not a rest day, it's a cross training day. So if I go a little deeper on the run, I can do something different on my cross training day to help manage that fatigue. And then Saturday, of course, long run. And so, yeah, I just think there's a lot of opportunities there. to make sure that you can augment and still get this stuff done and not have that feeling of regret for just bailing on a workout because I just didn't feel like it. So,
Yeah.
I think this goes another. So ChatGPT, man, my goodness, it's kind of brutal. Stop whining and start winning. So,
I
matter
see
if
it
it's cold
as
or dark. You're not feeling it. Your competition isn't holding a pity party, Travis. They're laughing at your excuses while they grind.
That's what, I guess,
true.
until they get sick or whatever. There's usually, my feeling too is there's usually a reason why you don't have motivation.
Yeah.
Because motivation, when you're excited to do something, the motivation is great. Like, I talk about a lot with my athletes is there's a difference between motivation and discipline, right? Mm-hmm. So discipline is just doing it every day, doing something every day. That's something doesn't have to be the 6-mile run that was prescribed. It could be 3 miles. It could be 2 miles. It could be a mile. Maybe that's all you have that day.
Right.
But at least you're disciplined enough to go and do it. I'm disciplined that I will get on that treadmill today and run my 6 miles that I have to run today because it's on my plan and because I took my rest day. And I'll be driving to Wichita this weekend. So I can't finagle another, recovery day / run day. I can't pull all the tricks, so it has to be done. So that's discipline, right? Like just the whining part. There's no whining. I whine that it's cold. Okay, whatever. Yeah. I only whine because I think it's funny, and I get a chuckle out of the people around me that are whining. If nobody's around me, I'm not whining. Nobody cares. My kids don't care if I run or not. They're not. They're not going to sit there. They're going to be like, "Dad, you said you were going to go run." Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm not going to. Yeah. They don't care. The thing is I'm the one who cares. So I don't really whine. Like just, I don't believe in the whining part. If you have to whine about it, then
it's that nobody cares, work harder thing. but no, I think you're right. And there is a line though. And I'm going to get into another sort of twist on some of the rapid fire, because there's a line in here somewhere where it's like, I agree with you on the whining thing, but then there's people that, like, there's a line somewhere where, now it becomes an excuse not to do a workout. You know what I mean? Like where you see what I mean? Like,
yeah. So I've seen this the other way too, with like people that are really into HRV. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, it's a red day. I shouldn't work out today.
Sometimes those are my best workouts.
They've been more my better workouts than they have been my worst workouts.
So that's where I think the metrics get in the way for people. And because I talk to you about this all the time. I almost religiously track my HRV and resting heart rate. Mm-hmm. And I don't put a lot of stock into it other than I track it and I observe what is it doing versus how I'm feeling. When I got sick about a week and a half ago, my HRV did not change until the morning I woke up. I started feeling like crap the day before. But my HRV, like a lot of times you'll kind of see it drift. Mm-hmm. It was like overnight, and all of a sudden my HRV just plummeted. It down almost to the single digits. It was crazy low and then my resting heart rate just took off. Total. So sometimes it doesn't give you don't get that warning. So I agree with you. I looked at just today, my HRV was on the low end of the balance or whatever it is in Garmin, but it's on the lower end of the range it typically is in. But my resting heart rate, it recovered the way I expected it to after a rest day. And I'm like, there's no excuse not to get the work. I guarantee though, if I had the Whoop device or whatever it is, mm-hmm. and some of those, I guarantee you they're going to be like, oh, you should take a rest day today. I'm like, but no, I shouldn't take a rest day today because my resting heart rate is fine. My HRV,
so the problem is if I take a rest day every time you tell me to take a rest day, I won't get anything done.
Right.
Like, because I'll have to take a rest day from today, and then I'll have to take a rest day from tomorrow.
Yep.
And then a rest day, I get it. Like it's trying to give you the best things so that you stay, mm-hmm. I guess, healthy or whatever. But I just find that for some people it works great. For me, it was just too much noise, and I just got rid of it. I was just like, it makes sense, but it's just like, it's not a metric that I need, right? Like speed on my bike. I don't need to know how fast I'm going. I just need to know, that I'm going. Yeah. I'm putting down power.
So I'm a big fan of the metrics that are objective, like defined measurement, I'm good with, like HRV. It's a defined measurement. There is a certain amount of space between the between the heartbeat, right? That can be measured. That's an absolute. The same with resting heart rate. It's an absolute number. I can measure my resting heart rate just sitting here right now. If I sit long enough, I can actually measure it. Where I have a problem with is a lot of these companies have taken those absolutes and then they put their algorithms over the top of it, and they treat the algorithm as an absolute.
Yep.
And it's not.
I would
It's not
rather
an
just have it tell me, here's your HRV, here's the difference in 1 minute. This is the difference that we see in milliseconds or something like that. It's just some objective number that you don't have to get it at a percent. You don't have to have anything. It's just whatever. Maybe it's 72.
Right.
And then you just, tomorrow it's 85, and you can just start seeing if there's any differences in the objective number versus the algorithm. Because the problem with the algorithm is you don't have access to that. You don't know what numbers it's getting fed. So you don't know how your ability, when I see 250 watts on the power meter, I know I can push either harder or less and to make that number go up. Like when you see 52 on your Whoop and it's like, you should take the rest day. Well, I don't know what to do then. I don't know if it's, I don't know if I need my resting heart rate to come down. I don't know if I need, my overall stress to come down so that my parasympathetic takes over. Like, I don't know what to do. It can suggest stuff for me to do, but it can't, like, it doesn't tell me objectively what I need to do to get better.
Yeah. And a lot of times some of these absolute measurements can kind of lag where you're actually at, and like HRV is really the case in point. When I was sick, I mean, it normally is a leading indicator. Normally I can see my HRV dipping and then coming, and then as I recover, it comes back up. Like a lot of times my HRV will come back up before I start to actually feel better. But this time it didn't. This time like I said, it tanked. I was already feeling like crap. Then it tanked. And then I started feeling better, and then it kind of slowly came back. So it was just this particular whatever virus or whatever I had was a little different than others. And I think that's why, people get so boxed in on the metrics. And again, absolutes are one thing, but when you start subjecting yourself to the algorithms and the interpretation, basically you're now just part of a statistical model. And that might be okay. Like generally speaking, it might be okay. But this is where like nobody knows your body better than you do. And I think that like today, if I listened to my watch, I wouldn't be doing a 6-mile run today. Do I feel like doing it? Not really. Can I do it? Yeah. And here's why I should, because if I don't, my body might not ever really know what it's like to run fatigued. Maybe it's okay. I'm a little fatigued. Now we'll see tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow I got to take tomorrow off. We'll see. I don't know. But I should probably go ahead and do my workout today because I'm capable of it. And you know what? If I get part of the way into it and it's like, hey, no, I'm risking an injury, then guess what I'll do? I'll shut it down. But I'm not going to use it as an excuse. I'm not going to whine about it. And then, well, my Garmin says
HRV says, and I'm just super stressed. And Danny yelled at me at work. And it's like, yes, if you want to whine about stuff, yes, you can.
Yes.
Then don't do the workout. Like I get it. But then again, at the end, when you're crossing the race finish line, you have to answer for all the skipped workouts.
Yeah.
And the amount of good training that you put in. So
that's exactly it.
That's what motivates me. It's just, I don't want to have to answer those questions.
All right. Now here's some excuses. Now, as a coach, what's your reaction when you hear these excuses from people? You ready?
Oh, okay.
All right. I don't have enough time.
There's always time. You can a 20-minute run. You have a lunch. You can do it. It's just priority. You need to make it a priority in your life. And that's fine. If working out is not a priority, that's fine. I'm not sitting here telling you need to make it a priority in your life. You just be honest with yourself. That's all I'm saying.
Good point. I don't have the right equipment.
You don't have a floor? You don't have like running shoes?
The gym's closed. The gym's closed, Travis. It's New Year's and the gym's closed.
Again, you don't have a floor? You can do push-ups.
See, this is the thing though. People find excuses. Like, don't find that's not
you can get it. Yeah. You can lay down a couple towels and do some yoga.
It's funny.
Gym's closed? Yeah. Okay, cool.
So we were talking, we talk about like for strength training and lifting and all that kind of stuff. And it's like she said yesterday, I think you said yesterday or the other day when we were running, you said, come on, just go and lift heavy weights. And it's funny because I'm like, I'm not really a big gym guy. I don't really like gyms.
Mm-hmm.
And I also don't have I don't have a squat rack with a few hundred pounds of weights where I can truly lift heavy weights. So a lot of my strength training is like, I got to do a lot of body weight stuff or resistance band stuff, which, it's all about the goals. Like if I'm looking to like really pack on muscle, like pounds of muscle, then you got to lift heavy weights. Like
Yeah.
resistance bands just aren't going to do that in an effective amount of time. But
you're looking with heavy weights, you're looking for neuromuscular recruitment and strength.
But you can do a lot of those things with body weight.
Yeah.
If you have the right movements, and same with.
I mean, look at me. I'm a big guy. There's a lot of weight to push around. Here. Yeah. There's a lot of weight here.
But I think that's just it. Like I don't have the right equipment. I don't have access to a gym. I don't. But guess what? There are. Can
you do a single leg pistol squat?
That's exactly where I was getting ready to go.
If you can do that. Then maybe having the gym closed is probably going to be bad. That's going to be bad for you because you need more stimulus.
Exactly.
But 99% of the people here, including me, I can do a half pistol squat.
I can remember.
I would basically be doing backflips and celebrating if I could do a single leg pistol squat. That would be so cool.
And here's
the thing.
Hard. And here's the thing, like having a set of resistance bands is massive because you can, and there's also the resistance bands that are like the longer bands that you can kind of strap them over your shoulders so you can actually do like resistance band squats with them. And it's like, just go do single leg squats with your body weight, to your point, like a pistol squat, but just single leg or like RDLs and that sort of thing. Like there are plenty of opportunities to use very simple body weight, and you will still get massive gain and benefit out of it if you're just consistent with it and don't find excuses. So yeah, I just love that though. I don't have the right equipment. So I don't have a $5,000 treadmill. I can't possibly run.
I can't possibly run. Like, come on.
Yeah. So, and then here's one here, and we're going to probably wrap up after this one, but it's not that big of a deal. I'm not really training for anything right now.
Okay. So life, I guess. You don't have to train.
I'm not really training. I don't have any events. Like,
okay. So general fitness, health wise, like, I don't have any swimming events coming up. Doesn't mean I still don't. I just go, I'm not going to Masters. I skip out on Masters because I'm lazy, not because like.
At least you're honest.
Yeah. It's like, I'll skip Masters, but I'll go and swim, but I don't have any swimming events coming up.
I think what people forget with this one is because we know a lot of people that fall into this category, and I'm not don't want to single anybody out. And everybody's got their own priorities in life.
The Midwest in general has a problem with this because as soon as September comes around, everybody stops training. It's all football season. I get that you love football. I love hockey. Doesn't mean that from October to June, I stop everything for hockey season. I just, kind of rearrange my plans.
How many triathletes have you seen over the years? Like when June hits, because all the triathlons are done by, May around here, and you got a couple in June, and you got, of course, Matt Mason, but like it's for the most part, when the triathlon season ends in the June-ish time frame, people shut it down. Like they don't do the triathlon, like they don't do any training, and then all of a sudden you don't see them again until like March of next year when they're like, oh, it's time to start training for triathlon again.
They're like Punxsutawney Phil that come out, they see their shadow. It's like, oh no, 4 more weeks till triathlon season. I better get ready. Get ready. But kick off the dust off my TT bike's tires. Yeah. It's time to get ready. Better get to the pool. Yeah, it's like the gym in New Year's.
January,
you just January. You just never you see like, where'd these guys come from? Yeah. But you see the same people year after year. They just show up at the fair weather Flyers and then they shut it down. And
it's like, well, I don't know why I'm not getting any better.
Yeah,
that's the worst. Like, I don't look, if you want to do that and you just accept whatever result you get and all that, that's fine. But the minute these people start going, well, I don't understand why I'm not getting any better. Well, because I don't know. It's like maybe because you stopped for 9 out of the 12 months of the year. I don't know. That might be part of it. Like, you're not even training half the year at this point. But I mean, all kidding aside, it's like people forget that consistency is what gets you to improve, and that means consistency through, like I always say, the off season. But it doesn't mean you don't put effort in. It's just
you're
off.
you're
Just
just
means there's
doing
no
less
race.
volume.
Yeah. And so I think folks, if you kind of fall in that trap of, well, like if we didn't have the half marathon in February, and like, well, Travis, I think I'm just going to skip my 6 mile run today because I don't have anything going on. Yeah, I probably won't run until March. So what's the big deal?
Well,
Well,
I probably wouldn't even. It would just be like, well, I'm not going to do my 6 mile run today. I was like, okay, well, let's go do 3 or something.
yeah,
Got to
exactly.
do something.
Right?
Do something, anything, like just keep the thing going. I tell my athletes all the time, slow miles are better than no miles, and something is better than nothing. Like you have to do something. Just keep doing it week in, week out. Get disciplined to just keep doing it week in, week out. You don't have to go and kill yourself. Some weeks are going to be better than other weeks. Some weeks you're going to be absolutely able to rail it every single workout and just crush everything. Some weeks you're going to be like us and just struggling to get on the treadmill for an easy 6 mile run.
Yeah.
Like
and another thing too is like we, just kind of in this vein is, we talk about strength training and how it kind of falls off from time to time. It's like the biggest motivation to not let strength training fall off is the amount of pain you feel when you pick it back up again. And it's the same thing with all these other things. I mean, think about how hard those first couple of miles are when you haven't been running for 6 months. I mean, I just went through it earlier this fall and I cussed myself out. Like, why didn't I even if I just did like 10 miles a week?
So easy.
Yeah.
So just 3 hours a week, like basically is all you need. You just need like three things a week to keep maintain.
I know.
3 workouts a week to maintain whatever you're trying to maintain.
Yeah. So
and then with strength, it's easier. It's just like the same. It's just like one workout a week, maybe 2 workouts a week, where you do some general fitness stuff, and you won't get DOMs ever again. But how many times do we just fall off and just be like, oh, I can't walk now. I can't even sit on the toilet. Oh, it hurts so bad.
I remember we did that, whatever ride it was in the fall. I think I did like a 4-mile run the day before. And then that next day we had a ride. And I was like, oh my gosh, why did I ever stop running? 4 miles should never be this painful.
Yeah.
It just shouldn't be. But yeah, it's all right. You just live through it. But I think hopefully this kind of helps some folks because I mean, this whole rapid fire, I actually just one of the better ones because I think there's so much, like, it's real. Like those are real things. Like, to think that you or I are immune from any of that, we're not. I mean, it's just been doing it enough. It's like you just kind of knock yourself in the head. Like, what are you doing? And get back to work. And so but yeah, I mean, I think just quit finding excuses for yourself and get out there and get your work done.
Yeah. Either own it and just go, you know what, I'm not doing it. And that's fine. Or just go, all right, I'm doing it. Let's go and do it.
What is it Goggins has? Get the accountability mirror. And just look in the mirror and tell yourself that I'm just lazy. I'm not going to do it, and deal with it.
Just look at yourself and just say, I'm not going to do it. And
when you do that, you're going to.
And then when you do that, you'll find out that you chant 9 times out of 10, you're going to go and do it. Yeah. When you have to look yourself in the eyes and just be like, yeah, I'm not going to do it. You're like, no, go do it. Fine.
So
I'm not going to like it. And then I'm like, most of the time, like I say this, like, yeah, I'm not going to like it. I feel so much better after I work out. So it's like the feeling is good. It's this anticipation of getting the workout in. That's the hardest part. First, it's the 10 minutes right before the workout and maybe the 2 minutes during the start of the workout. It's like, it's just right there. That's the hardest part. Once you get through that part, it's over. Yeah. It's easy.
Piece of cake, knock it out, get done with it. But well, hopefully this helps people get through a few workouts through the next couple of weeks here. And I mean, we're sitting here in January and it's gonna be February before you know it. And then March will be here. I'll tell you, I can't wait for March because usually we get, at least here in the Midwest, we'll get 1 or 2 days and usually late January, early February, where it'll be like 70 out of nowhere. It'll trick us, right? It tricks us into thinking that we're getting our spring season. Fall spring. Yeah. So, I mean, we'll get out and enjoy that and it'll be a nice bit of fresh air. But March will be here. And then it's like, I just got to make sure you're ready for it because, man, when spring gravel gets here, it comes on here fast. And it's
I was doing all my my training plans for me yesterday, and it's just like 6 weeks every weekend.
Yeah.
Some kind of gravel thing going on, then 2 weeks off, and then it's Unbound.
Yeah.
It's just like,
yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Yep. So
all
right, man. Suffer complete. Good job.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening. If you made it this far, please drop a like, share with your friends, and we'll talk to you later. All right, bye. Thank you for listening to this episode. Please, if you like what we are doing here, leave a like, rate us, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends. It really helps us grow and finds us more SufferSooner squad mates. And remember, when the finish line feels impossibly far away, we don't give up, we push harder, we dig deeper, and we find solace in the knowledge that our suffering is temporary and our resilience is forever.